All right, let's get right into it. When you hear the word hacker, what comes to mind? Probably some scene from a movie, right? Someone in a hoodie, surrounded by monitors with green code just scrolling down the screen. But the real story, the philosophy, the tactics, oh, it's so much deeper and way more interesting than Hollywood lets on. Check this out. This quote is from something called the Hacker Manifesto. It was written way back in 1986 by a guy known as the Mentor, literally right after he got busted. And it's not him saying sorry, no way. It's a declaration. He's framing hacking as this grand exploration, this quest for knowledge in a brand new digital frontier. So, before we jump into all the cool technical stuff, and we will, don't worry, we gotta understand this mindset first. The why behind it all. Because it's not just about breaking the law. For a lot of these folks, it's a whole culture. And this really gets to the heart of it. The manifesto basically says hackers are driven by pure curiosity. They just want to know how things work. And yeah, there's a big anti-authoritarian streak there too. It's this idea that has just stuck around for decades. So that's the big question, isn't it? Is this just about crime or something else entirely? But here's the thing. Whether the motive is curiosity or cash, the methods they use are super methodical. So, okay, let's pivot from the why and really dig into the how. All right, so imagine an attacker gets in. They've breached the first line of defense. They don't just start randomly breaking things. It's not a smash and grab. No, there's a playbook. It's a series of very careful, very calculated steps to go from owning one computer to owning the entire kingdom. The fancy term for this is lateral movement, and you're going to want to remember that one. The best analogy is a burglar. They get in through, say, a kitchen window. They're not just going to read the fridge and leave, right? They're going to creep from room to room, mapping out the place, looking for the real valuables. That's exactly what lateral movement is, just with computers. It usually happens in 3 steps. Step 1, reconnaissance. They look around, see what's on the network, kind of map the territory. Step 2 is called credential dumping. Sounds messy, right? That's where they steal all the usernames and passwords they can find on that first machine. And then, step 3, they use those stolen keys to open more doors and move deeper and deeper in. Now, for the people trying to defend the network, this is where a giant invisible clock starts ticking loudly. That window of time between the attacker hitting that first machine and then successfully moving to a second one, that's everything. And it has a name, breakout time. So how long do you think that window is? A day? A few hours? Well, research from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike shows the average breakout time is 1 hour and 58 minutes, just under 2 hours. That is all the time a security team has to figure out what's happening and stop it before the attacker is everywhere. So to try and beat that 2-hour clock, there's this industry benchmark called the 1-10-60 rule. The goal is insane. You have to detect the problem in 1 minute, investigate it in 10 minutes, and contain it within 60 minutes, all in under an hour. I mean, just think about that pressure. Okay, so how on earth do attackers stay hidden while that clock is ticking? Well, the really smart ones do something brilliant. They use the system's own rules against itself. And this brings us to a super clever tactic that comes from a core idea in one of the world's most popular operating systems, Linux. Put yourself in the defender's shoes for a second. What's the number one thing you're looking for? Suspicious data leaving the network, right? So, how would an attacker hide that? How do you sneak data out without setting all the alarms? Well, the answer is kind of beautiful, in a nerdy way. In the world of Linux and Unix systems, which run a huge chunk of the internet, there's a simple rule. Everything is a file. Seriously, your keyboard, it's a file. Your mouse, a file. And here's the kicker. A network connection? Yep, it's also treated just like a file. So here's the trick. A defender is probably watching for a specific command, like sending, which is used to, well, send data over the network. But because the network connection is just a file, an attacker can use a different, way more common command, writing, to do the exact same thing. It's like sending a top-secret message on a totally normal postcard. It just gets lost in the noise of all the other regular mail. Okay, so if the bad guys are this clever, how do you even begin to fight back? You can't just sit around and wait to get hit. You've got to be proactive. You have to study them, get inside their heads, and figure out their playbook before they use it on you. It's basically digital forensics, like a detective at a crime scene. Researchers look for the digital footprints left behind. They're trying to figure out the attacker's MO, their signature moves, anything that reveals a pattern. The whole point is to understand how they think so you can guess what they're going to do next. And one of the coolest tools they use for this is called a honeypot. And it's pretty much what it sounds like, a trap. It's a decoy computer system that's set up to look tempting and vulnerable, specifically to attract cyber attacks. It's like a digital sting operation. You get to watch the attackers in a safe, controlled environment and see exactly what they do. And we're not talking about just one simple kind of trap. Look at this table. It's from a research paper on this very topic. It shows you just how deep this goes. You've got all these different types of honeypots with crazy names like Dionea and Glassdoff. Each one is built to mimic a different kind of system, from a simple website to a complex industrial control system, all to catch different kinds of fish, so to speak. They basically come in two flavors. You have low interaction honeypots, which are kind of like a simulation. They're easier to set up, but a savvy attacker might realize it's a fake. Then you have high interaction honeypots. These are the real deal. They give the attacker a full-blown, real system to play around in. This is way riskier, but the data you get about their tactics is pure gold. So great, you've set up your trap and now you have mountains, terabytes of data showing what these attackers did. What now? You can't have a person sit and read all that. That's where machine learning comes into play. You feed all this data into algorithms that can spot patterns a human would never see. They can start to classify different types of hacker behavior, build profiles, and ultimately help predict and stop the next attack before it even happens. What you end up with is this never-ending cat and mouse game. Attackers come up with a new way to get in, defenders build a better trap to catch it, then the attackers find a way around the new trap, and on it goes. It's a constant battle of wits, fought entirely with code. Which brings us right back to where we started, with that hacker manifesto. In a world that's literally built on code, where's the line between being an explorer and being a trespasser, between curiosity and crime? It's a blurry line, and as more and more of our lives so digital, figuring out where that line is, well, that's becoming one of the most important questions we have to answer.